This movie is definitively the worst movie ever. The bombs fall in space. Family Guy are going to do a piss take version of The Last Jedi. They just have to play it straight and actually do a movie that makes sense. That's just such disrespect to the franchise, to the fans, to the actors, to everybody who's ever worked on Star Wars. Still got a long way to go.
Worst movie ever!
And then we get to the true villain of Star Wars. Chewbacca. This dickhead. So Chewbacca has, for me, the most confusing scene in all of The Last Jedi, because he has the scene where he's about to eat, I think it's a porg, but it might be just food. The reason it's confusing is because while it looks like it's a cooked porg, the porgs are all standing around looking at him with sad eyes. It's hard to tell whether they're begging for food or whether they're trying to guilt him into not eating it. Now just imagine if this happened with a human instead of a porg. There's a big hairy creature somewhere and he's sitting down, he's just after cooking an entire human and your group of friends, and he's holding it, he's about to bite into this human. All these humans are just standing around looking at him doing it. Really weird. Why didn't they just run? Why are they like watching him? It's not like they can bring that porg back to life. And if there was this like giant alien creature about to eat a human, I don't think the humans would stand around watching him eat it. The porgs do, and that's what makes it confusing. Initially I thought they were just begging for scraps, begging for food, as pets do. So that was stupid. Another thing that was kind of weird in both The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi is how they relegated certain characters who were key parts of the other film. All 6 films featured R2-D2 and C-3PO heavily, but they relegated the cameos in both films. Especially R2-D2, who had a very prominent role in the first 6 films. I believe there's something about it in Rise of Skywalker, or I was told there was, about him being obsolete or something. But they mentioned this in the Clone Wars. If you go back and watch the Clone Wars animated series, there's a point where there's a reference in season 1, I think it is, when they say R2-D2 isn't as good as this newer model. They make the point that R2-D2 is special. He has his personality. He has something special about him that makes him stand out even from the most up-to-date droids, astromechs, whatever you want to call them. So relegating him to standing in a corner and beeping occasionally didn't make a whole lot of sense. They made slightly better use of him in Last Jedi than they did in Force Awakens. You know, he shows Luke projection of Leia, but he doesn't get a whole lot to do in this film. It's kind of disappointing. Rose and Finn ultimately have their chase through the casino, and the music changes. The music is really weird because obviously Star Wars has its own style of music, and they introduced new music in the prequels, so why shouldn't they introduce new music in the sequels? The music in the prequels even became iconic. Some of Darth Maul's theme and everything became iconic in terms of the Star Wars universe, but the music in the casino chase scene doesn't fit. It's like something you just see out of a standard action film, very generic. It doesn't fit Star Wars, and I know John Williams didn't do all the music for this film, but if you're going to get someone else in, sure, they want to put their own stamp on it, but you still have to, like Rian Johnson should have, paid respect to the series, not try to force your own shit on it for the sake of it. Next, we get to one of the good scenes in the film, where we get Yoda, and they do one of the right things. They use puppet Yoda. Great to see them use the old version of Yoda. It wasn't overdone, it wasn't underdone, it was done pretty well. It was one of the good scenes. I think this movie overall does have good points and bad points. I think this movie could be edited into a decent movie if you can take out some of the really stupid shit, but that movie would be about an hour long. This movie's 2.5 hours long. It really didn't need to be. Oh, it's really dragged out. Luke's about to burn down the tree that has the books in it, and he's hesitant, so Yoda controls the weather. The Force is used differently in this than it is in the other ones. Like I said, with the Leia thing, certain Force powers have been shown before, but controlling the weather seems more of an X-Men thing, not a Star Wars thing. At the beginning, when I mentioned that the door didn't have a Force shield on it in the opening scene with the bomber, at an hour and 29, scene where Rey flies into Kylo Ren's ship on the escape pod, or the coffin she's in, there's a Force shield on the door. So they've got some Force shields on some doors, not on other doors. Continuity error right there. Finn and Rey ultimately then are trying to get to the tracker to disable it. Doors open and it looks like a flux capacitor out of Back to the Future. That was weird. So ultimately, Benicio del Toro betrays Finn and Rey. Captain Phasma appears. He's going to execute them. Ultimately leads to a battle scene where Phasma is killed. Captain Phasma really seems like she was wasted in both films. She had very little to do across the 2 films other than be killed. And she could have been cool because she had like this like silver staff. She could have been a cool character. Maybe this trilogy's Boba Fett, but she was never given that opportunity and killed off way too quickly. Seems like a major waste of a character. Then back on the main ship, haven't haven't spoken much about Poe because once Purple Hair Lady took command, Poe became so irrelevant in this movie. He's basically waiting around for so long. That's literally his role for most of the film, is waiting on Finn. He's just sitting around waiting. Okay, he plans a coup. He plans to take over, but he doesn't do a whole lot. And ultimately, he does do his coup, and it lasts for like 5 minutes, and then Leia comes back. She stuns Poe. It was such a wasted character for a majority of this film. But ultimately, we get to the point where Leia and the Purple Hair Lady are saying goodbye because the Purple Hair Lady's going to stay with the ship while Leia and the people are leaving. And they have this really emotional scene between the two, which audiences couldn't have any connection with because we don't know who the Purple Lady is. We haven't seen this connection between the two. We don't see why it's an emotional goodbye. It's just a waste of a scene. If it had been in the previous films, if it had been Anakin and Padme even in the past doing a scene like this where we knew one of them was going to die afterwards, that might have been something because we'd seen a build of their relationship. Love it or hate it, we did see that. But we saw more of a connection between the two. Whereas with the Purple Hair Lady and Leia, we saw very little of interaction between the two of them until they say goodbye to each other. In fact, we saw pretty much nothing between them until we saw them say goodbye to each other, which just seems terrible writing, poor storytelling. Maybe they're trying to set up for doing an in-between movie, like a prequel to the sequel movie, but that would be insanely stupid. But moving on, we get to, again, one of the good scenes of the movie. The scene where Kylo Ren ultimately kills Snoke. Although they do make Snoke take the place of Kylo Ren kind of as the worst Sith in this scene. They make Snoke look really bad as a Sith, really poor, because we haven't seen anything from other than him sitting down and berating people at this point. So they get to the point where he thinks he's seeing Kylo Ren's thoughts, but Kylo Ren's clearly tricking him, projecting his own thing in Snoke's mind, and Snoke doesn't see the lightsaber turning. But the lightsaber is off to his side. Surely he has peripheral vision and would see the thing turning, because it was a shiny object turning. You would notice that in your peripheral vision. So while he's focused on what's going on in front of him, he would still see the thing moving, and showed just how weak he was as a bad guy, that he couldn't sense the thing right beside him moving. And ultimately he's killed fairly quickly. You know, there's been various Sith throughout the Star Wars main films, and the weakest one by far has been Snoke. He's the only one we haven't seen do anything other than sitting down. You know, he threw Rey around a bit and he used a little bit of powers. We don't even know if he had a red lightsaber. Then Rey and Kylo Ren came up to fight the guards, and it's a really cool scene. Then we get to a point where the two are ultimately using their force power to try pull the lightsaber. And I really think they missed a trick here, because if they use those powers, if they are on one side of the screen, they're both trying to pull on the lightsaber. If that lightsaber begins to break apart, I know it ultimately did break apart, but if it begins to break apart and we see the individual parts come apart, which can be done fairly easily with visual effects, people who know what they're doing with visual effects, if we see the individual parts start to come apart and ultimately we see the raw crystal in the middle of it, something we haven't seen in Star Wars, it would have been really cool to see just the crystal in the middle being stretched and forced so much that that's what causes the explosion. But instead they just have it snap in half, and we get a small glimpse of the crystal later on at the wrap up with Rey. Then Kylo Ren and Rey, before the explosion, they're talking about her parents. The whole thing, all the way through, she's trying to figure out who her parents are. My understanding initially was that after The Force Awakens, they were building up towards it being Han and Leia being her parents, and obviously they kill off any chance of that happening. But think about it, if Han and Leia had been revealed as her parents in The Last Jedi, if Kylo Ren was the one to reveal it to her, that could have been the reason Rey sided with Kylo Ren and actually did join the dark side, and Kylo Ren and Rey worked together, and Finn and Poe had to try to get Rey back. Could have set up for a pretty good third movie. So ultimately we're moving on to another stupid point in the movie. The scene where Purple Hair Lady takes her ship, turns it around, and light speeds through the Dreadnought. A point I'm sure has been made by many Star Wars fans and film critics across the world. Why didn't they just do that for the other things? If that is a possibility in Star Wars, why didn't they just get an empty ship? Every time there's a battle station or a bad guy ship they can't beat, just get an empty ship, put a droid in it, set it on autopilot to hit light speed, fly it into it. Incredibly stupid to do it, because now it opens up, they should just do that every time. You know, if they can waste one ship and save the whole galaxy, it would have made A New Hope about a 5-minute long movie, and Force Awakens and The Phantom Menace, most of Star Wars movies. Really stupid to put that in it, and it's a clear sign of somebody who had no respect for the Star Wars franchise again, because yeah, technically you could say yeah, that would work, but it massively undermines all of the Star Wars movies, and it's just visually stupid. When I was in the cinema, I remember people laughing at that on screen, and it wasn't supposed to be a funny moment. Ultimately, we get down to the Salt Planet where the final battles take place, and we see the Crystal Critters. Obviously, we're going to remind me of the Christmas Critters from South Park. The one thing, the sequels, now obviously I can't talk for Rise of Skywalker, as I've said many times already, haven't watched it. But the first two films, the main thing they were missing, epic battles. That's what the original Star Wars films had going for them in abundance, these epic battles. And even the prequels had them too. In all three prequel films, they did have some epic battles in there. I don't remember any epic battles in The Force Awakens, but they do get to a battle at the end of The Last Jedi, and you've got to give them credit. It was pretty good considering what they were working with. On the Salt Planet, Hux tells Kylo Ren that there's 13 enemy ships. 13. How can you make a battle with just 13 enemies? But they did their best. The white salt that turned to red, that was really cool visual, and they did really well. It's a good point within the movie. As I say, the movie has some good points. Immediately followed up by a bad point, because Kylo Ren gives an order, he's taking charge, and Hux has basically become his second in command. Kylo Ren gives a command, and Hux comedically gives the command as well. I don't know why. Again, overacting Donald Gleason, and terrible, just terrible. Get to the point where Finn is flying his ship directly into the big gun that's going to take them all out, and Rose comes across and knocks his ship down. They have their speech moment. They should have just let Finn fly into the gun, save the day, become the hero, because while yes, they would be killing off a character I think most people actually liked, one of the few characters most people liked from the sequels. To have him sacrifice himself to save everybody else there would have been a huge moment. And yet while the other guys could have just gone off and got another gun to break into the base, that would have given them time to get out. But of course, they had to leave space for hologram Luke to come in. I really think they missed a step there by not killing off Finn and giving him a noble ending. So ultimately we get to Luke and Kylo Ren facing off after Luke's been shot a lot of times. And they're fighting, and around 2 minutes and 16 seconds, Kylo Ren says to Luke,
"And when I kill you, I will have killed the last Jedi."
He said the name of the movie. Just like in Empire Strikes Back when Darth Vader said to the Emperor, "Now the Empire is going to strike back." Or when Qui-Gon Jinn said to Darth Maul, "Wow, you're the Phantom Menace." Or in Return of the Jedi when Luke said to Vader, "I'm Return of the Jedi, baby." Why had to add in the name of the movie? I don't know. And then 30 seconds later they get Luke saying it too, because Luke says something along the lines of, "I won't be the last Jedi." Then also a weird thing I noticed when I was rewatching the film for this review, I guess, hologram Luke has a haircut from Luke who's projecting him. That was a weird point. Why, when he projected himself to the other planet, did he visually give himself a haircut? Kind of weird. And then ultimately at the end of it, the whole hologram thing with Luke was pretty cool. The whole force protection thing, something we hadn't seen before to that level. I do think that having Kylo Ren strike Luke down in the same way that Vader did with Obi-Wan Kenobi in A New Hope would have been pretty good, and it had the same effect, you know, because it's kind of the same thing that they can't be struck down, it'll always be with them type of thing. But they have the hologram thing, which again, you know, it's something unique, something we haven't seen before, kind of cool, but ultimately is pointless by having Luke fade away. If they were going to do the projection thing, surely he should have survived the fight another day. Come back in the third film, have a role in that. Kill him off early, sure. But if they're not going to have Kylo Ren be the one to kill off Luke and give him those villain points, I guess, they could have made better use of him. You know, have him do the Obi-Wan Kenobi thing from A New Hope to show continuity, I guess, across the franchise. Well, it's got some good and some bad in there. Then the whole film wraps up. Carrie Fisher in the film is still alive. They haven't fully given her a send-off yet. And eventually, The Last Jedi ends, but it ends with very little setup going into a new movie, other than Kylo Ren's now the main bad guy and Luke is gone and everyone's not in a coma. There's not a whole lot build up for Rise of Skywalker, and you could argue that it was the same with Force Awakens, that didn't build up a whole lot leading into The Last Jedi. I think they built up more than they did in The Last Jedi to lead into, but you end up with 3 individual films with some connection points. Ultimately where the sequels have fallen down is bickering between 2 directors who didn't collaborate very well, and why they chose these 2 specific directors and decided we'll give 2 films, not the first 2 films, the first and the third film, we'll give one other director who made a whole movie that didn't make a whole lot of sense, and we'll give him creative freedom on the second film. Instead of having someone oversee the whole story arc, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's really annoying that they could have got someone better. They could have got someone like Steven Spielberg. If I'm in charge of Disney, I'm taking every bit of money I can and I'm throwing it at Steven Spielberg and saying, please, for the love of God, make a Star Wars movie. Can you imagine a Steven Spielberg Star Wars movie? He's friends with George Lucas, he'll pay respect to it, and he's damn good at making sci-fi movies. Why didn't they just do that? Imagine 3 Steven Spielberg Star Wars movies. Maybe they should just scrap all the sequels. Well, I'll just pretend they never never happened. They should give all the money to Steven Spielberg and let him do whatever he wants for 3 movies. Guaranteed it'll be better than the sequels we got. And all of a sudden the prequels don't look too bad. They're a story for another day. But hopefully through this video you've seen my point. Various places this doesn't make sense, various places it disrespects the entire franchise, and some points in this film are just downright stupid, ultimately leading to the Star Wars The Last Jedi being the worst movie ever. And it only took 10 episodes to get there. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you're not already. Check out the other videos on the channel. In total, there's now 10 worst movie ever episodes. You can check them out at this playlist up here. 10 episodes. That was really quick. Now I just gotta find 10 more movies to give out about. Should be easy.